What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Champion Living Podcast, the only podcast crossing lines between the sport of rodeo and fitness. Today's episode, we are talking all about training frequency. How often should you be training a week? How can you implement that in a plan? Aligning that with your goals, all of the above. We're jumping in right now. Logan, just me and you today, bub.
Just us, just the boys.
the
You know,
two
like
of
Paul's
us.
not here. Yeah, we can. Yeah, Paul's not here
Make it
to
if we
correct
try.
us. It's yeah. I don't know. I don't really know what to do with my hands here without seeing no Paulie. It's just like a little out of place, you know.
Who would have thought that he was the concrete that held us together? Not me.
It's the stash, is what it is.
Oh,
It's the
man.
mustache.
Gotta be the
Oh,
mustache.
Paulie's off visiting his niece. First time.
Yep.
I guess that's pretty cool.
It is cool, man.
So-
Everyone's having
Yeah.
kids. It's like that stage of life.
You're
All of
either
our friends,
September and
everybody's-
October. You're either getting married or you're having a baby. There's two things. Like I don't know what it is. But that's what people do this time of year. Apparently, when we came out to your wedding,
phenomenon.
I was on the plane next to a guy that was headed to a wedding, and I was in the rental car place next to a guy that was headed to a wedding, and I like on one of our other flights, I sat next to a grandma that was headed to a wedding. Everybody I saw in Montana or on our way there was headed to a wedding in Montana. I'm like, number one. I thought, yeah, number one wedding destination, I guess, is Montana.
Montana. Yeah,
Yep.
it was
Everybody.
everybody. But it was it's a pretty place this time of year, man. With all the leaves changing and everything, it's pretty cool. But yeah, I've been to I feel like 10 different weddings in the last 2 months, so I can definitely agree with that. Been on the road a lot
You've been on that
just for friends getting married.
for better or worse tour.
Yeah,
2023.
Yeah. Oh man, it's good. But let's jump into everything we're going to talk about today, and I think this kind of ties into being on the road and everything like that. The training frequency has gone down a bit for me, at least on an individual basis. I'm usually training 4 to 5 times a week, and we had to cut that down drastically just due to travel and stress on the body. And sometimes I'm looking at 2 times a week. So that's changed how I put together my exercises and my workouts for the day. Kind of changed my just goals for the short term of what I really, really want to accomplish, or how I can stay on track for what I want to accomplish in the long term with my short term goals, even being on the road so much. Okay. So for anyone listening, training frequency is the number of training sessions that you're going to have for a given period, usually described on a weekly basis, could be described on a monthly or beyond that. But for the most part, we're sticking to a weekly basis. How many times a week are you training? And this is going to look different for everybody. This is going to look different for every goal. An example of individualized goals that this would apply to, or whether you're trying to increase your strength, increase your endurance, hypertrophy, trying to lose weight, those are all going to look different on the amount of times that you should be training per week. We talk about this like the FIT principle, FITT. What is that?
Yeah.
If you want to break that down real quick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, really, you can kind of classify your workout by this FIT principle: it's frequency, intensity, time, and type. So, for a more advanced athlete, which we'll get into in a minute, or somebody that's been in the gym for a while and they're trying to add muscle size, I mean, their frequency might be as much as 5 to 6 or 7 days a week. If you're just looking at like strength, performance stuff, it might be as little as 3 or 4 days a week. I mean, a lot of times people are, doing cardio anywhere from 3 to 6 days a week, really depending on their fitness level. So, the training splits are really, I think, really what determines how many days a week. We talked about this. I made a post about, like a sample program for a rodeo athlete. And somebody commented on there, well, what would make this? It was a 3-day a week split where you're going to push and you're going to pull and maybe you're going to squat, and the next day you're going to vertically push and pull. And so we can split our workouts up like this. And somebody commented and say, well, what makes this better than the typical back and biceps? And really, it's not necessarily a better, worse thing, but if you're going to split your workouts up by body part, obviously it's going to take more days in the week to be able to make sure that you're hitting everything. So you're not, skipping a day. And it's fine if you're able to go to the gym 5 to 6 days. They talk about chest and triceps, back and biceps, maybe an arm day and then a leg day. And it takes a little bit to get everything together. So really the training split is going to dictate the training frequency based on what we need to hit today and how we can make sure we cover all of our bases over the course of that workout in the grand view of that week.
Yes, absolutely. And just to break it down a little bit more, hypertrophy, meaning we're trying to increase our fat-free mass. We're trying to put on lean muscle. Strength, again, we're trying to increase our strength or our power throughout both of those. And cardio, obviously, we're trying to increase our capacity for cardio, our aerobic capacity. And so Logan talking about these splits is extremely important because this is what's going to tie into your schedule. And is that feasible for you? So if you're a very, very busy person and you're looking at something that requires a 5 to 7 days per week split, is that doable? Are you going to be able to be consistent at that? You don't have to do 5 to 7 days. You don't have to do 4 to 7 days or 3 to 6 days. What you need to do is what's going to fit into your schedule. And that's how we're going to break this down. 3 days per week, 2 days a week. Even if you only have 2 days a week, we're going to want to focus on that full body. You want to get everything in on those sessions, right? And so the volume might be a little bit less than it would be for a hypertrophy or strength training goal. But at 2 days a week or 3 days a week, you can still increase your hypertrophy. You can still increase your strength. You just need to be hitting all of those muscles. Otherwise, you will be you'll have holes in the game, holes in your plan, and you need to make sure you're hitting all that. Granted, now moving on, if you do have 4 to 6 days or 4 to 5 days, 3 to 6 days, whatever it is, those splits like Logan's talking about are going to be your go-to. And depending on whether you have, 4 days a week, we do upper lower splits a lot for athletes like that, meaning we're doing upper body and lower body on those days, but they are going to be the opposite muscle groups and what they're working. For instance, we could have a hinge day where we're double leg squatting, single leg squatting, and then we're pairing those with some kind of vertical press, vertical pull. That way, when you're working your legs, you're not working your shoulders or those pulling muscles. Those are able to rest and recover, and therefore you're being able to get more intensity out of those lifts each time. You're not as fatigued going from exercise to exercise, and you're just able to get more work in for less time in the gym, if that makes sense. And then on the other side of things, and again, that can be just like a push-pull day. Same thing. We just pretty much described the same thing.
Yep.
But the hypertrophy is a different goal, right? We're trying to exhaust those muscle groups individually and really hammer them throughout each day. And again, that's why it takes so much longer, is because you're hitting chest on one day, you're hitting back on the other day, you're hitting quads on one day, hamstrings the next, and glutes. It takes a while, but we are trying to exhaust those muscle groups when we're doing that, and trying to increase the muscle mass and decrease the fat mass of what we're of your body. What about some factors that like we kind of talked about some factors there, but do you have any more that besides time that are going to affect your training frequency?
Yeah, I think the biggest one for me when I'm talking to a new client is what we might call their training age. How long have they been working out, right? So if this is something that they're brand spanking new to, I want the minimum effective dose that is going to give them the biggest results. And so,
Right.
because number one, this lifestyle change is new. Now we're working out. We haven't been working out before. And so, what can they, like you said earlier, be consistent with? What's the least that we can do and see the biggest amount of change? And so, I am always trying to figure out, okay, have they worked out before? How consistently have they worked out? Because somebody that's never worked out before, or even if it's been a long time, you see a lot of 35, 40-year-old guys that get back into fitness, and I'm like, have you trained before? And they're like, well, yeah, I played high school football. And I'm like, okay, cool. That doesn't
Yeah.
count.
Right.
Like, I don't know if you know this or not, but that was 20 years ago. So
Right.
we're probably starting back from the beginning. And so I want to try to figure out where they're at, because somebody that's never worked out before, or it's been a very long time, we're going to go with 2 or 3 days a week. We're just trying to build this routine into their schedule. And I know if we're if we're moving effectively and we're moving efficiently, 2 to 3 days a week, they are going to see crazy amounts of progress just on that little bit. And a lot of that comes from the fact that they're able to recover.
Mm-hmm.
And we think about this recovery. We've talked about it on the podcast a lot, that the recovery is just as important as the work. And so often we get in this is where we're going to work out and we're going to go to the gym 6 days a week, and then you're still doing life. You're working for 10, 12 hours, you're raising kids, you're prepping meals, you're trying to do all the things, and it's just not feasible. And there's no real recovery time available. And so when we just do 2 or 3 workouts a week with a beginner, they have plenty of opportunity for the body to adapt to that new stimulus by recovering. And that's why they see the crazy changes. And it's sometimes hard to believe when I tell a client, like, hey, I think that we'll see better results at 3 days a week than we will at 5. And they're like, but if they trust the process and they stick with it for 2 to 3 months, man, it's crazy what you can get done with such a short amount of time. So I would say that training frequency for me is definitely one of the big factors, is going to be their training age.
Absolutely, man. And I love that you touched on the recovery part, because, guys, that's where your muscle is built, and that is where your body burns the fat, is during recovery. So recovery ties into your sleep, ties into how much food that you're intaking each day, how much water you're intaking, your mobility, like how often are you actually doing active recovery and taking care of your body. Those are all going to increase your body's ability to get towards the goals that you want. And I think that that's so important, man, because again, in our industry and just this demographic of individuals that we work with, for the most part, rodeo athletes, cowboys, cowgirls, we are pre-wired to be intense people. That's just how we are. And so we have this natural tendency to want to go towards the extreme of anything. And in the gym, that usually turns out
Absolutely.
to going as hard as I can for as long as I can and as many days as I can per week. And then 2 weeks later, wondering why in the hell I feel so bad and why I cannot keep going. And that's it. We're doing too much. And you
Yep.
talked about that minimum dose to get the max benefit. That's huge. And that should be applied to pretty much anything in life. You don't have to do more to get more. You need to be smarter about the things that you're doing to get more. And so when we start talking about those factors that are going to influence our training frequency, dude, I'm seeing more benefit. And I come from a competitive CrossFit background years ago, where training was my job. I worked out 6-7 days a week and for 3 to 5 hours a day. Did I get strong as shit? Hell yeah. Was I really fit? Yep. Could I have been more fit by doing less? Yeah, because I was constantly fighting this uphill battle with recovery time and being able to take
That's
care of my
exactly
body.
what I was going to say.
Yep.
Yes, that's exactly what it comes down to, is it was your job. So
Yep.
was sleep, and so
Yep.
was nutrition, and so were all those factors of recovery. So sure, can the body be pushed that hard? Absolutely it can, if you have enough time to be able to focus on the recovery, which that's just such a small portion of the population. And a lot of our demographic, sure, our rodeo athletes, training should be their job when they're not rodeoing. Now, whether it is or not, but a lot of our demographic are, they're rodeo moms, or they're, pickup men, or they're, building fence for a living. There's just so many things, the unique battles of those guys. And it's not uncommon for other people, and that we skip breakfast, have a cup of coffee and a cookie, and we pack a cooler, and so we've got a ham sandwich for lunch with a small bag of potato chips, and that's lunch. And then we might have something a little bit bigger, but we've taken in 12 to 1500 calories at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
and we've burned 4200, and we do that
Mm-hmm.
for long enough. So I say all that to say that, like, you were able to go hard, but it
Mm-hmm.
was because you were able to focus so hard on your recovery as well.
Yep. Yeah, and I was tracking every single bit of my recovery, how I was sleeping, where my sleep phases were, what my heart rate
Mm,
was, my heart rate variability. Like there's a lot that went into it. But again, like you said, it was my job. And if your job is to be a professional athlete, you need to act like one and do the things that professional
mm,
athletes are doing. And I tell you what they're not doing is they're not working out as hard as they can and then fucking off on their recovery. You know, they're not going out and drinking
mm,
15 beers after the rodeo. Granted, there's time and place for all that. We're not saying don't do that. We're saying that the majority of the time, you need to be focusing on what it takes to be the best version of yourself as an athlete. And everyone's at this place where they want the sport of rodeo to be recognized as having athletes in it. But the people aren't doing the things that athletes are doing. They're not being
mm,
professional athletes, they're being rodeo athletes. And that's okay. But things have got to change, y'all. They've got to progress. And the way that we do that is look at other sports and how their athletes treat themselves and how are they on this stage that we are not on. Well, that's because maybe 5 to 10%
yep.
of the athletes that are at this elite level are doing the things that professional athletes do. So when you start
Mm,
reassessing things like that, we've got to look at ourselves, look at ourselves as an industry and say, hey, what is really holding us back? How can we make this better? And your training and your recovery is definitely a huge part of that. And in turn, the training frequency is going to be the biggest part of that because
mm,
what we run into again is very busy people being on the road. I don't have time for this. No, you don't want to make the time for this. And that's what the deal is. We're telling you right now that you could do 2 to 3 days a week and it could be 20 to 30 minutes a day. And as long as you're
mm.
consistently doing it, you are going to reap the benefits of what you're sowing. We come from, again, this side where it's like, I got to go 5 days a week. And you can't do it for more than 2 weeks. And then you don't do it at all because you're sore, you're tired, you're wrecked, and your training frequency is all out of
Yeah.
whack,
Yeah.
So you've got to stay on top of that and being real with yourself. And that's what we're going to kind of talk about. This next part is designing an actual training frequency plan. And this is where you get to be very real with yourself and figure out, okay, what is feasible for me to do and how can I consistently do that thing over and over? And I think the first thing that we need to talk about is knowing their goal or their why, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why are
Yes.
you doing this? What is your goal? What is the time frame to get to that goal? First of all, is that feasible? And if it's not, we need to reassess a little
Mm,
bit. But you need to think about how many training days are going to be realistic for you as an individual to reach that. And then we can even take that goal and tell you, okay, this needs to be, an 8 month goal instead of a 3 month goal or a 4 month goal based off of how many times a week that you say you can train consistently. And that's okay. We're still moving forward. Nothing good is built in 2 or 3 months and lasts with anything in life. Rome wasn't built in a day, quote unquote. Like that's so cliche, but
absolutely.
that's a damn fact. You have to put in the time and
Yeah.
years. And you look at just me and you in general, like we've had crazy transformations as athletes that have happened over 3 years at a minimum.
Mm-hmm.
You've been doing this for 3 years
Yep.
consistently, 4 to 5 times a week, 3 to 5 times a
Yep.
week,
Yep. Yep.
and seen the results. Nothing happens in a month or two.
Yep.
You have to be able to buy in and know that this is not a short game. This is a long game and it's a longevity thing. But the more times that you're consistent, whether it feels, as minuscule as 2 days a week, it's huge. It's ginormous
Mm,
comparative to everybody else out there. Um, what else what's the next step for you
absolutely.
when you designing a training frequency plan?
Well, I need to look at, like I talked about earlier, their training age, and so I need to be able to figure out, what are they? Do they need full body workouts? Do they need
Mm-hmm.
split routines? Like, what is going to be the thing that I need to give them to help them see results? And it really comes down to their schedule. I have to look at their schedule. We have to talk about their training age. We have to talk about their lifestyle. What do they have going on? Are they working out at home? Are they driving an hour to the gym and back and forth? And so based on those things, then I can start to come up with that. And a full body workout, you gave a great example earlier of these movement splits where maybe we might squat and we might press overhead and we might do some sort of vertical pull as well, and we can pair it together that way. Well, it's not hard for us to go and cover the whole body in 2 or 3 days a week with that style of workout.
Mhm.
Where, if we go move into more of a split routine that is set up based on body part, or based on, pushing, pulling, like those kind of things, that might require a little bit more days of a week. So we know our goal. If we know what our goal is, then we can look at what kind of routine is going to get us to that goal. And based on that routine, then I know how many days a week I need to try to be consistent with to be able to reach that goal.
Yep. That's right on the money. And, breaking that down even further, guys, if you're a beginning level athlete, you've never worked out a day in your life, like Logan was saying, we're not going to put you on this, you know, individual body part split 6 times a week. You are so much better off at learning how your body moves and getting the reps at the
Mm,
basics 2 to 3 times a week and doing those same, they could be pretty similar workouts, but we want to touch on the full body every day. You're going to crush it.
mm,
You're going to get really, really far ahead in where you, as if, what's the words I'm looking for? In like, instead of doing this high, like a bodybuilding split or something like that,
mm.
as we progress in our training age, we are going to start prescribing more of those upper lower splits, bend, horizontal press, like
Yep.
however
Yep.
we have it set up, the way that it's going to
Yep.
benefit you the most. But I just, I always feel like beginning level athletes, look at all these programs that are available online that you can get, templates for on apps. Speaking of which, check out our Champion Living Fitness app. It's available in the Google Play Store and Apple App Store. We have free information, we have paid plans, but it's a great place for someone to start that's not ready to make the investment in individualized coaching. But you'll see that they're set up similar to how we're talking about. These beginning level plans are set up as full body. You're working every part of your body 3 times a week, 2 times a week,
Mm,
and they're split up in with a rest day in between because you need to give your body the ability to recover and see the results that you're getting from your exercise. And on that turn, beginning level athletes, a lot of times are going to be very sore the first couple weeks or even the first month of getting going, right? And so it's good to have that recovery in between them because not only is that going to keep you more consistent because you're not having to show up to the gym the next day and be like, dude, I'm wasted. Like I'm so sore. I
mm.
don't want to do this. But you're going to see the
Been there.
benefits of, yeah, me too, man. And that second day, or you work out every other day, when you go back to the gym you still might be sore a little bit that second day, but you'll see the more that you move and go through these exercises, the better that you feel. And that right there
Mm,
should be reiterating in your brain that the body loves movement, the body needs movement. I feel better when I do this. That's all I need. That's the reason that I exercise now. All the
yep.
looking good, all that stuff, being able to move heavy weight is just a byproduct. I want to feel good.
Yep.
And the older I get, I'm trying to disprove all of these things that is, I mean, the masses of society, the statistics are not good for
Mm,
people that are, longevity wise, being healthy. Like, I want to uproot those and fight those statistics and be an anomaly, quote unquote. And all that I have to do there is remind myself how damn good I feel after I work out, how much
mm,
better my day goes, how much more productive am I? My brain works better, I think better, I'm clearer minded. And I can do anything I want to without having to second guess it. And I think that, beyond the athletic part or being a professional athlete, that's where we're headed. Or that's where you guys should be headed as consumers of fitness. So
mm.
be real with yourself about your goal, like he was talking about. Make sure that you're setting up your splits or your program accordingly to that. And if you being real with yourself is huge, guys. Again, like we said, 2 days a week is fine. You just need to be hitting full body
Mm.
and putting in the full effort during those 2 days a week. And as you progress in training age, start moving that forward and progressing into a little bit more individualized on muscle groups, moving patterns, whatever it is. And you'll see a huge benefit. Go ahead, Logan.
Yeah. No, that's that's just exactly what I was gonna say, is that, like, we can vary that. A lot of times I get somebody that's never worked out before. We start at 2 days a week. Once I see their progress is, maybe it's 6 weeks, 8 weeks, everybody's a little bit different. Now they're ready. We're kind of getting to that spot where you're getting familiar with the movements. Now we're ready for 3 days a week, and we can vary our training frequency to help, like, smash through plateaus, right? And so
Yep.
if we have these cycles, these seasons of life in which maybe we're working out 3 days a week, and then for this season where it's a little bit less busy, we go down to we go down, or we go to 4 days a week or whatever it might be, depending on your schedule, and depending on making sure that we're going to, get through those plateaus. And the other part of that is, changing up some of the exercises periodically every 3 to 4 weeks. A lot of times you go in the gym, maybe you don't have a plan or a program, and you just go use all the machines. I don't really know what to do, so I'm going to go get on the machines. And you use different machines every day. You go in there and you're getting on, and your body, your central nervous system's having a really hard time figuring out what you're asking of it. And that's a lot of the reason why you're just wrecked when you leave the gym every day. And there's something to be said for mastering a movement, doing it long enough to feel confident that, like, I know how to squat well. Like, you never really move on from the basics. And so knowing how to squat well, knowing how to bend over well, knowing how to row and how to push and how to pull, and all those things are really, really important. But there's so many variations of those things. Varying them every little bit is going to help you keep from getting to those plateaus as well.
Absolutely, buddy. And we talked about this as well, but progressive overload, guys and girls, that's a great way to continue to get a new stimulus with the same movements that you've been practicing. So you're mastering those movements, but progressive overload is just adding a little bit of weight each week, doing the same amount of reps. And you'll see the changes that will continue with that. You will continue to get stronger. You'll get better at doing those reps with a heavier weight. And at a point in time, you will hit a little plateau. And that's a great indicator that we need to change the stimulus that we're asking for, and change up the movements a little bit, because your body's at a point where it is adapted to the max is going to adapt to that point. So we need to change the goal a little bit, change your stimulus, the training type, the frequency, all of the above can be changed. But start with that progressive overload, master the movements 2 to 3 times a week. If you're more intermediate to advanced athlete, it'd be like 3 to 5, 3 to 6 times per week. And obviously your splits will look different, but master those movements. And when those become natural for you, and that you can do them without even thinking, and you can add weight without even thinking, we're doing a good job. That's a good indicator. About 8 to 12 weeks, guys and girls, before we need to adjust things. But some training programs I get can be monotonous and quote unquote boring, because you're doing the same things over and over again. But what you should be seeing is you're doing those same things and you're getting better at them each week, because you're able to add that weight, or you are able to crush that tempo better than you had before. Your body awareness is increasing. You're able to build tension throughout your body and feel it, on week 8 compared to week 1. The differences should be astronomical in how you're feeling moving that weight. So I thought that was a good plug. And I love that what you just said about that too. We talked a little bit about active recovery and balancing rest. Let's kind of finish with that on, like you said it so good earlier, like that was my job. Like it was my job to sleep. It was my job to eat enough to fuel myself. Y'all, this is your job. This is the other part of fitness. This is still part of your plan. Just because it says active recovery or rest doesn't mean it's a bullshit day. You gotta stay after it. And I think as coaches, man, we probably battle with that the most, because we don't have this goal of being an extreme athlete. We can say, oh shit, I don't want to do the warm up looks boring, or damn, I don't have enough time, I got to go jump on a call, I'm gonna skip that cool down, and then we don't do it. And then 3 days later, I don't know about you, but myself, if I do that, I'm sitting there going, oh, I sure wish I would have done that cool down that I wrote, idiot. Like it's huge, man. And we get that with clients all the time too.
Yep. Every dose of stress requires a dose of recovery.
Yes.
And so when you are working all day, you're on your feet all day, you're up and down the fence line, you're teaching school, whatever it might be that you're doing, like, we're stressing the body. Okay. Now we take that and you're probably left to your own devices. Naturally, most people, believe it or not, are in a calorie deficit. Dose of stress. You're getting 5 to 6 hours of sleep and you're fully not recovering. Dose of stress. You're going to do a workout and you're going to try to ask your body to adapt. Dose of stress. You've got 4 kids that are on fall break that are screaming at all times inside the house. Ask me how I know. Dose of stress. Yeah. Dose of stress. Okay. So now I'm just listing those things. I'm oversimplifying here, but we've got 5 to 6 doses of stress going on every day.
Yep.
And then there's no recovery. There's no half a night of sleep. It doesn't work that way, right? And
Hmm.
that's one thing that I have made a big change in the last 3 years. Sure, I'm more consistent with my training, and my training looks different than it used to. I'm also eating better, but a huge part of it is blocking off time to sleep. Man, I'm on the road like Doug has been. It's not perfect.
No.
We still live life. We understand
Hmm.
what it looks like to have to make an all night drive or to have
Hmm.
to do those things. It's not perfect. I just understand that I'm not going to ask my body to adapt to a stimulus after I've had 3 hours of sleep or 5 hours of sleep.
Yep.
It's just not realistic for me
Just
to
digging a
be able to
hole.
get that training. And instead, I'm going to do like you said. I'm gonna move with intention. I might do a short little mobility circuit. I might do a little bit of stretching. I'm just going to try to I just want to feel good, promote a little bit of blood flow,
Hmm.
and feel good. And then once I can get that 7 to 8 hours sleep, and I know that my day is going to be end capped with good recovery beginning and ending, then it's like,
Hmm.
okay, it's time to push the weight. I'm at home. I can eat real food. I can
Hmm.
get plenty of recovery. I can drink plenty of water. I'm not go, go, go. And so making sure that you understand that that recovery is just as important as the work if you want to see results in your training.
Yep. Nailed it, man. And I think that ties into how do we do that? How do we plan all that? How do we put it in? And you need to have that as part of your plan. That needs to be in your fitness program. That needs to be in your schedule every day. He talked about a sleep schedule. Y'all, you need to have a sleep schedule. You need to be writing in, like, on our planners. We have it written in. I'm going to be in bed at 9 o'clock.
Mm,
I'm going to be up at 5 or 4:30, but it gives me 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep every time. How am I going
mm,
to do that? It's not going to be getting in bed at 9 o'clock. It's going to usually be getting in bed about 8 or 8:30, dimming the lights, putting my
yep.
phone away, putting the lights away from that. Uh, I've got a red light that I put on every night, making sure I get all the light that I need from
Mm,
that. Um, Circadian rhythm increases, feel much better every time I do that. And again, I just came off the road like we've been talking about, and I got home Sunday and I needed to move. Like, I just needed to move.
mm-hmm.
I knew that I did not need to do a full workout, and my body would firmly probably reject that the next day. What I needed was 15, 20 minutes of just light movement. I got done with that little circuit that I did. Hardly felt like I worked out, but I still had a little pump. My body was feeling way better, and I woke up yesterday feeling way better and able to hit the gym yesterday.
Mm,
So you need to have
yep.
that in there. Stress management. If you're very stressed out and you're having a lot of stressors come up throughout the day where you're checking that stress box, but not a lot of recovery box, breathing exercises are a great way to manage stress. Okay, setting
Mm,
aside, and this was one of my goals for this year, is I set aside 10 minutes a day for breathing exercises. Have I hit that every single day? No. But am I hitting that 2 to 3 times a week? Yes. Am I seeing benefits from it? Absolutely. It's huge, and it sounds simple and a little too easy at times, maybe a little more like witchcrafty,
yep.
but it works. It
Well,
works. You
it,
guys
it
have
all
to set
comes
yourself
back.
up for that. Go ahead.
Absolutely. It all comes back to this general adaptation syndrome. So we introduce a stimulus to the body, a workout. You go do a workout, and immediately after that workout, you've fatigued the body. So you kind
Mm-hmm.
of your performance is going to dip just a little bit. But then in the recovery, we spike back up, and now our new baseline of performance is actually better than it was before we
Mm-hmm.
did that one workout. And what we see a lot of times is that there's no spike back up because it's dose of stress, it's training adaptation, training adaptation, training adaptation, training
Mm-hmm.
adaptation. And next thing you know, your performance is absolutely tanked. You're tired all the time. You don't feel good. Your lifts have all plateaued.
Sore.
The body is
Yep.
achy and sore.
Yep.
Joints are sore. There's just so many there's some inflammation going on. There's just so many things. And it was because we just kept putting in these stimulus to drive adaptation, and we never recovered, and we never
Mm-hmm.
bounced back for that. And Doug just mentioned, okay, I'm going to try to go to bed at 9 o'clock. Well, you know what, for a lot of people that's not realistic, and that's
Yep.
okay. You have to be
Mm-hmm.
able to look at your schedule, and you have to be able to say, what is one thing that I can do that's going to promote my recovery? And this is a simple tidbit that I'll end with as far as recovery, and hand it back over to Doug. But I have been amazed at the amount of people that I talk about watching TV before bed, and they have a TV in their bedroom. And it's amazing to me when people are like, well, when else do you watch TV? we're so busy. That's the only time I get to watch TV is I'll turn it on and like go to sleep. And I can assure you, if you can break the habit of watching TV in the moments leading up to you falling asleep, you might not necessarily feel right off the bat like you've recovered much better, but I can tell you scientifically what we understand about the human body, your
Mhm.
recovery will get dramatically better even if you are getting 5 or 6 hours a night. One small thing you can do, don't cut the TV on right before bed. Limit it to, they say 3 hours, but even if it's just 45 minutes or an hour, do what you can do, what you can be consistent with. Get rid of the screens before bed, and your recovery, you're going to see over time, your body is like, thank you. I can get more deep sleep. I can produce more growth hormone. We can repair tissues. You're going to
Mhm.
feel better over the long term just by doing something simple like eliminating a screen.
It is that easy, and everyone's looking for these quick fixes like we were talking about earlier in this episode. But
Mm.
supplements, all of those things, they don't work unless you work. Exercise, all of the above. You have to put the work in and be smart about it and strategic about it. And all of these things, the reason that we talk about balancing the rest and recovery is because in this group of people, we talked about the intensity always being so high. We see in a lot of athletes the tendency to be overtraining and doing way
Mm-hmm.
more than what they should be doing to get the results they want because they're adding so many stress check marks throughout the day, like we've talked about. You can overtrain. All those signs Logan was talking about: not sleeping well, being sore, being achy, not seeing hitting plateaus in the gym, frequently, is a good sign that you're doing too much. So you need to be realistic with where you're at. Again, writing out your schedule. Where can I be consistent in my training? How can I be consistent in my recovery? How does this all pair with my regular day life and travel? And go from there. But you've got to have a plan. You got to make sure that you're balancing your rest, your recovery. Go ahead, Logan.
No, and this is where, shameless plug, this is where a coach comes in,
Yep.
right? Why would you study all this and have to be an expert in managing your schedule and what workouts are best for me and how can I recover best? Why would you do that if you didn't have to? If it's not a passion of yours and something that you really, really want to learn more about, why would you invest the time? Instead, I can invest financially in hiring somebody that knows what the deal is. There's somebody that
Mm-hmm.
they give their life to studying these things. And all that's going to do is, instead of you getting to your quote unquote goal in 3 years, there's a solid possibility that we can back that timeline up, right?
Yep.
I can give you the information that I have. We can help you see those results better. And our big thing, I tell everybody on the console, is I am not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to tell you this is what we're doing and this is why we're doing it. Because at some point in time, I want you to be able to go do this on your own. I want this to be sustainable for you for the rest of your life. And so, take an investment and hire a coach, whether it's us or somebody else. It doesn't matter,
Mm-hmm.
but hire somebody. Don't just go to the biggest bro in the gym and be like, all right, man, what do you do? I'm going to tell you what he's doing. Chances are 99% is not what you need to be doing to actually
Mm-hmm.
see results. Hire somebody that can study your lifestyle, can study your routine and your work schedule and your kids' volleyball game schedule, and can come up with something that is going to give you results.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, man. So if you're looking for a coach, y'all swing by our website, championlivingfitness.com, click the athlete sign up form. It's a free consult. You get to talk to one of the coaches, get all your questions answered, make sure that we're getting you paired with the right coach, that we're the right fit for you, and go from there. But whether it's us or somebody else, make the investment, y'all. I don't know about you, Logan, but like when I don't know something, I don't have time to go learn most of it right now. So that is
Mm,
why I hire an expert to help me with it. Um, look for it's just too easy. And all you have to do is follow the plan and communicate with your coach, and you're going to see endless and incredible results that will continue on forever. So, if you guys have been thinking about hiring a coach, check us out. Check out any other coaches. Dude, I've had people ask me what I thought about other coaches recently, and if they're a good coach, I'm telling you straight up, that's a good option. Go for it. Like, reach out to that person.
mm,
We collaborate with lots of other coaches in this realm, and I feel like that's what makes this industry so cool is yes, there's a lot of pride, there's a lot of ego, but there are select few people that are stepping forward with the only goal in mind is to grow the sport of rodeo and make people better. And so we collaborate
mm.
with those people and we're constantly trying to make ourselves better with them. But hopefully this was helpful, y'all. Training frequency is a huge thing that we talk with to clients. We get lots of questions about training frequency. Make sure that you're setting your goals and aligning that with your schedule each day to see what is going to be the best frequency for you. Assess your training age. If you don't know how to do any of this, reach out to a coach. It's going to be your number one way to get the results that you want quick. We like to struggle through things, especially as cowboys and cowgirls, but it doesn't have to be that way, right? Guys, before we wrap this up, got to thank our sponsors, Beastmaster Rodeo Gear. Been with us since the beginning. Check them out, beastmasterrodeo.com. Use our discount code ChampionLiving, all one word and uppercase. Going to save you 10% on all their products. And Hui Brands, you can check them out at getyourhui.com. Again, our discount code for this is going to be Champion Living. It is not case sensitive. Their fall line just dropped. Check out the hoodies. Check out the hats. We got NFR coming up. I just spent a bunch of money on stuff for the NFR, and I'm stoked. Can't wait to try it all out, and you can catch us around Resorts World this year. If you guys are going to be around, we'll be the guys in all the Hui gear. Until next time, we'll catch you later, y'all.